Welcome back to the podcast. Your host, Hunter Twisdale, and I got my main man, Austin Brown.
What up, brother?
How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Blessed.
Good deal. So topic of the day. Let's do a little bit of a recap about last week. So last week we had Caroline Stanzik on. Love her. She's awesome. Amazing story. If you didn't hear it, go check it out. A little bit of a summary. She's a U.S. Army veteran. She was forced to take the Moderna shot for COVID-19. Within hours, she had muscle spasm, loss of vision, slurred speech, and then she was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, medically discharged. And her quote directly says, "I was strong, fit, and healthy. Now I can't walk without help. And they told me I was crazy. I'm not." And then the U.S. Army later admitted that the vaccine caused it. One of the first cases acknowledged officially. I
Yeah.
mean, great podcast. Y'all should check it out. She's got an amazing story about
Yeah.
how quickly the Army will screw you over.
It's crazy, and being able to see it firsthand like I did was insane. Like when she said that they were calling her crazy, I was witness and have testimony to people talking crap about her faking it when she was clearly not faking it. She was having the most insane health issues for a 24-year-old, and it was sad to see. And obviously, what am I going to do? I'm a bystander at that point. I'm going through the same situation. I'm on her team, and we're going through the suck together. But it was just mind blowing to see how she was treated through all of that. And God bless her for sticking in there, fighting it out, and now she has a loud voice to share with other people about what she went through. And like she had said in her story too, to be able to testify and help other people who've gone through similar situations.
Absolutely. I mean, as of 2025, there was over 1.6 million reports of adverse events from that shot, yet they still forced it. That's just they had an agenda, I think, bigger than anybody realizes. Um, what is the that thing that all the rich people always talk about? Population control.
Yeah,
Exactly what they're trying to do.
no, exactly. And I mean, it was clearly a test. We know that it was an unlawful mandate. And I firmly believe that it was the administration's goal at the time, when the last administration was in, to purge as much as they could of these folks that are independent, free thinking, Christian, conservative folks out of the military. And that's exactly what they did. Obviously, some people were manipulated and coerced, and they're still getting it. And I know a lot of people um, didn't want to take it, but they didn't really have any other options career wise that they were, faced with. Um, but I believe that last administration, they didn't think they were going to lose the last election, so they had started this kind of plan and process to get the free thinkers out and to keep, people that are more willing, I will say, to go along with unlawful orders in the military so that they could continue to push any agenda or plan that they might have.
Right. So it makes me want to kind of steer a little different to another topic that we haven't really discussed yet, but I think they're fun to talk about. Some call them conspiracy theories, some call them truth. you know, uh, one of them that I wanted to talk about was have you seen the video where they're talking about I think I sent it to you last night. There's all the fallen angels and then the fallen meteors. Have you seen that?
Fallen angels and asteroids. What do they have in common? Well, let's look. This, if you're anything like I used to be, thought for many, many, many years this was a sign of an old asteroid. But if you think that still, let me just ask you this. If it was an asteroid that came in at an angle, unless it was coming straight down, it wouldn't look like this. It would leave some sort of tail or something different. This is not an asteroid. And if you haven't come across flat Earth yet, I highly recommend you research flat Earth. But you can see a lot of these have been found over the course of thousands of years. And I found the number of them that have been found to be very peculiar. So here's just another example. Does anyone know around how many of these huge craters have been found? Around 200, at least 190 I've researched, and there have been 195 found. And you know what that made me think of? It made me think of how many angels came down to earth with Lucifer. Anyone know that number? It was roughly around 200. Kind of coincidental there, right? Maybe we're in Satan's short season, and maybe those fallen angels that were kept in prison underground have already been released. This
The asteroid Apophis. Its name draws some attention because the cosmic mass was named after the Egyptian god of chaos, ironically also known as the Great Serpent, who, since he was also the enemy of the sun god Ra or light, existed in darkness.
Could we be living in the short season of Satan and tribulation's already happened and the angels have already come up? I think so.
Well, the first time I'd heard about it was what you had sent me in that video, and I think it's amazing, just to think about the idea of that being possible. And, anytime the government says something, usually the opposite is true. And I think we saw that firsthand as well, obviously talking about the vaccine and all of that, but that kind of leads us down the path of what else are they not telling the truth about, and like you, this is a topic I've always been interested in, not this one specifically, but conspiracy theories, conspiracy facts, I'll say.
Yeah. So, just a little fact for you that the government wanted to tell us. There, as of now, are roughly 190 to 200 confirmed craters that impacted the Earth's surface. Do you remember what it says in the Bible on how many angels fell from heaven?
I don't, but I have a feeling you do.
200.
That's pretty close.
That's pretty daggum close, man. It doesn't say that there's 205 craters. It says 190 to 200, meaning
Yeah.
200 the maximum craters found on Earth that were made from meteors.
So what's the best
Right.
for you got so far?
It gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. I just kind of makes you wonder, like, was it really meteors or was it what the Bible says happened?
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
they're falling from the heavens, where they separated the waters from the waters with the firmament, and they fell from the heavens, and they impacted the earth. That's going to make a pretty daggum big crater.
I mean,
Especially being
we
a
have
being.
right. I think the biggest fallen angel you could say actually landed here in Oregon because we got Crater Lake here,
Oh yeah,
which is the deepest lake in the country. So that's interesting to think about.
that is definitely. I mean, some evidence to talk about a little bit of what we're discussing. On First Genesis 6:4, it says the sons of God came into the daughters of men and bore giants. So that's the Nephilim,
Nephilim. Yep.
and that's a very interesting topic itself. There's been several videos. There was a pastor in Mexico him and someone else saw a giant, and it wasn't like a Sasquatch sighting where they just kind of saw some guy walking and was like, "Yeah, that Sasquatch." No, he said, "I'll send you the video." He was looking directly at this giant, making eye contact for like 5 minutes, and he was not very far. He was probably 50 to 100 yards, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Just making eye contact with this giant, and he told his buddy, "Hey, hey," and then the buddy was like, "Ah," and the giant walked off. But he was making eye contact with this giant for 5 minutes.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to think about. And if you think about it from a very telescopic lens, right, of how big the Earth is and how small we are. Think about how many untouched parts of our planet that there still are that people have never been to. Wilderness, forests all over the place. Even the conversation of feral people still being out there, of people untouched by civilization, still living like cavemen essentially. And that gets you into a whole series about like true crime stories, national parks, and all of that sort of thing, and what happens to all these people that go missing when they're on hikes and stuff every year. Thousands and thousands of people just turn up missing. Nobody knows what happens to them. Cannibalism? I don't know. Like, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So, about the fallen angels, there is a place overseas. It's I can't remember the name, but it's an anagram for Satan. Like the name of the country, it's an anagram for Satan, or the
Mhm.
city, or whatever it is. The anagram for Satan, and they say that that's where Lucifer and all the fallen angels do their meetings, because there's a tower at the head of a phoenix and stuff. Like, I'll have to send it to you. It's kind of crazy. Um, when I watched it, I was like, man,
What country?
it's like Testan or something. It's an anagram for Satan. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me look it up.
But the conversation, obviously, the Book of Enoch, it talks a lot about these sorts of things, and obviously we know that it's not canon, but it is referenced in the Book of Jude. Um, so I don't necessarily hold it with the same respect and value like the 66 books of the Bible that we have, as far as its inerrancy. But I do still think that there's correlations there, and there's conversations and topics to be discussed that kind of tie into the Bible, but are also interesting, to what we do know and what we don't know, and perhaps maybe what's been, I don't know, hidden from us for whatever reason. If the government has been trying to hide things, or they've been saying like, hey, aliens aren't real. Okay, now they are real, but they're not actually aliens, but they're telling us they are, because they're trying to hide that they're actually maybe something else supernatural, demonic, things like that. Um, so that's one thing it's always interested me, is never just to have my eyes blindfolded, but to be open to what else is out there, and using spiritual discernment and wisdom on, like, God, is this from you, versus is this a lie from man, and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, have you seen the orbs that have been in the sky?
Yeah.
Those are kind of crazy. There was one I saw. It was really weird timing, because I was doing a lot of research on these orbs, which I believed were orphanum, and just trying to figure out what it all meant. And so during all that research, I was at work, and I looked up in the sky, and my buddy actually got a video of it, and there was, I don't know, I remember what they said. They said it was something stupid like a Japanese plane crash, or something was burning up and falling apart out in the sky, and it looked really weird. Um, so I thought that was really interesting. I'll have to send you that video too.
I don't
Um,
know. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in movies and media, right, that are either foreshadowing of things to come, or their symbolism of things that have passed. And I remember in Transformers, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about here, but I think it was the Decepticons when they came to, or I think it was just the Transformers themselves, the Autobots, that when they came to Earth, they were fallen angels, I think is what they were referenced as, and they're coming in on what looks like meteor burnup, right? They look like asteroids coming in and landing on planet Earth, right? But it's just interesting that they were referred to as, I'll have to go and confirm this, but I believe it was as like angels from the heavens.
yeah, I've seen that exact one that you're talking about, and I thought it was kind of crazy as well, because There's actually a video on it where they discuss things like that because I'm looking something up right now
Yeah.
because I'm curious.
You
So
see all the different like kind of go ahead, go ahead.
I just it's really weird to me that when a meteor, so-called meteor, hits the Earth's atmosphere and hits the surface, they're disintegrated. So there's no evidence of a meteor. That's just what they say. It was a meteor.
Right.
How convenient, right?
If it fits the narrative, right?
Yeah, the Book of Enoch, like you're talking about a little bit ago, is very interesting. I've been wanting to do some more research on it myself, because I think it'd be something very interesting to know. I think there's a lot of stuff that are not all talked about,
Yeah.
because they kind of silenced the media and they silenced the truth in a few different ways. The reason that I really want to read the Book of Enoch is because that's where they talk about the Nephilim and stuff the most. But they also, it says in Genesis how Enoch walked with God for over 100 years. If you're walking with God for over 100 years, you probably had something good to say. I want to hear it. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. It's true. And there's a lot I think we could glean from that. At the end of the day, our salvation isn't dependent upon it, but I think our interest in it stems from wanting to know more about God, about creation, about being, closer to Him, and because it's just a topic I think that's interested us, um, you know, over the course of what we've learned about history and how everything doesn't appear to be what it actually seems. So not looking at it from a standpoint of like I think that there's some hidden meanings in here that they're trying to hide from us from the Bible or whatever. And no, because that's not our salvation isn't dependent upon it. It's a good
Yeah,
a good accessory, I think, into learning more about, you know, things that could be out there or, about God, which I think is interesting.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely, that's why I love that we have the New Testament because it shows us that it's not as difficult and as complex as people try to make it out to be to become a Christian and to follow Christ and to go to heaven. It's not that complex. It's not that hard. It's really simple. It's not easy per se, but it's very simple. You know what I mean? I like that term because a lot of people think it's a misconception that when you become a Christian, your life becomes easy. And no, it does not. It probably gets harder, but it's worth it. When I was in football, I missed a football practice, and my coach, I think I told you the story, didn't I?
Maybe.
Well, my coach told us, hold on a second. He said, being a Christian, because we missed practice, we had to do a little workout or whatever to get punished. And we were like, dude, I thought you were a Christian. Why are you punishing us? And he was like, well, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean life gets easy. It's probably going to get even harder, but it is going to be worth it in the end. That being said, God, if you live your life by the fruits, it does get better. 100%. I 100% believe that because you have to have the fruits of the Spirit to grow your relationship with Christ and to live a good life.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get easy because I mean, this world is ruled by Satan. I mean, look at Job. He lived a perfect life pretty much, and Satan tempted the mess out of him. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. It will. I do believe it makes your life better because it makes the things that happen in life more bearable.
No, exactly. And that misconception of, oh, you know, you're a Christian, your life must be so easy and all this stuff too. And like you said, it doesn't get easier. Nothing gets easier. And the only thing that changes is that now you know how to deal with stuff a whole lot better and have joy through the struggle. Let's see, John 16:33. I've told you these things so that in me you may have perfect peace. And this is Amplified Classic. And confidence. In the world you will have tribulation and trials and distress and frustration, but be of good cheer, take courage, be confident, certain, and undaunted. For I've overcome the world. I've deprived it of power to harm you and have conquered it for you. So we get to live in that freedom. We get to walk that out, right? That Christ has already conquered it. Death is defeated. Sin has no grip on us, has no hold on us. So we get to walk in that authority and that freedom. And let's see. There's one other verse I wanted to get to here.
So, people watching at home, you might be wondering just a little. I don't mean to cut you off, Austin, but I just wanted to share this with people.
Oh, you're good.
You might be wondering, hey Hunter, hey Austin, what in the world does fallen angels have at all to do with a COVID vaccine? Well, to give you a little bit of insight into why it's important, it says that the fallen angels taught mankind forbidden knowledge, such as warfare, sorcery, and this word's going to sound very, very, very familiar because we use it pretty frequently today. It's called pharmakia, which is Greek for drugs. What does pharmakia sound like that we use on a normal basis here in the United States or in the world?
Pharmacy.
Thank you. It stands for it's translation from pharmacy, pharmakia, drugs. That being said, these fallen angels were not good people. They weren't good angels. They didn't just fall because, oh, yep, my wing got clipped. No, God said it's in it says Revelation 12:4, the dragon's tail swept a third of the stars from heaven. They weren't just like good angels up there doing their own thing. They were angels that followed Lucifer, evil angels that fell onto the earth and taught mankind these evil things such as pharmakia, pharmacy, drugs. That is why it is very important if you want to take any kind of medication, especially in my opinion, you need to do research on it to the best of your ability before you take it. Because if you're taking something and you're just saying, well, the CDC and the FDA, they said it's okay. Well, the FDA and CDC are bogus. They're full of garbage. Pharmakia is evil. And you can look, if you look at the little logo that they have on Pharmakia, like on the pharmacies or whatever, they have like a little logo on their bottle with like a, I don't know, see if I can pull it up.
I mean, even just like the symbol for hospitals and stuff. Is that what you're talking about with the snakes?
Yes. So it is the rod of Asclepius, widely recognized symbol associated with medicine and pharmacies, is a serpent coiled around a rod. This is known as the rod of Asclepius, which originates from ancient Greek mythology and linked to Asclepius, the god of healing. It is not of Jesus. It is not of God the Father, the true God. Um, it's not that God. It's not I am. it is a Greek god, which is mythology. It's not real. It's bogus bull junk like you see on Marvel movies. It's not real.
It's sorcery,
That's
man.
it's exactly what it is. It's witchcraft. It's sorcery. What was that thing you said last night about wormwood?
Oh, how wormwood, which is funny because I was telling you the street I grew up on, but wormwood was used to make the wands for witches. And then what was the other thing you had said about, or was in the video?
I don't remember.
But yeah, wormwood, and just how that was a tool. And obviously, the devil has no new tricks, and he's good at. He's not. I won't say. I'm not even saying he's good at. He's not good at anything. He uses things that God's created and manipulates them and distorts them and perverts them for his selfish gain, right? To convince, to deceive, to manipulate God's people into sin.
Absolutely. So, uh, you need to do your research when it comes to these drugs, and that's why the fallen angels thing is so important because of the stuff that they're putting in there is not of God. They have admitted multiple times to putting aborted babies
Fetal
into
cells.
drugs. Yeah, and not to mention foreskin, all kinds of stuff you don't. If you knew that it was in there, you probably wouldn't take it, but people do it anyways.
Right.
Um,
God's given us everything we need. He's made it all for us, kind of like our past conversations about gold, right? And provision being there since Genesis,
yep,
right? He's giving us everything we need. We don't need man-made drugs, right? We have the great physician, we have Jesus that could heal all of our wounds because of the stripes he bore on his back for us, right? So to think that we need to go down the pharmacy to engage with the spirit of pharmakia in order to heal our bodies, that's the wrong answer, man. And it's only going to prolong your issues, if not make them worse.
absolutely. God gives us everything we need in plants and in animals. There's so much stuff. For example, a lot of people take things that they don't know about and like to manipulate it, such as creatine. They think creatine is bad for you, shouldn't take it. Creatine is literally found in steak, so it's just more amplified. You need to do
Yeah.
your research before you start talking poorly about something, but you also need to do your research to make sure it's not bad for you either. And that's why it's we're on the topic of the fallen angels thing. Another thing I wanted to tell you, I don't know if you knew this, but the Vatican, the Catholic Vatican and all that junk,
We're going
they,
there.
they have the Lucifer telescope in Arizona, and it is called Lucifer. What a coincidence that we're talking about fallen angels that they classify as fallen stars or meteors, but they have a telescope that is called Lucifer, and they've publicly admitted interest in extraterrestrial life, and it's and preparing the church for alien contact.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Once you start to get, what's crazy is that the symbolism is in front of everybody's faces too. And for some reason, it's not some reason, people's eyes have been blinded to the truth, right? It says that in the word. They don't have spiritual eyes to see, they don't have spiritual ears to hear, right? But then you've seen pictures inside the Vatican, in one of their like halls or whatever, where they have their congregations, how it looks like the face of a viper, right? With the eyes, and then the background looks like it has fangs too. And then there's that one, I think it's on the stage there too. They have that, it's supposed to be a mural of a statue of Jesus being held up by God knows what. And his hair is flowing in such a way, and his appearance and how his body is shaped, it looks like a serpent. And his face looks like the head of a snake too. So to tie that in with, Pharmakia, the snake, the viper, going back to the garden, what was the creature, that convinced Eve to eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, whether it was a snake or a serpent, of that same nature, same sort of appearance, same long, lying, deceiving tongue on that creature. Um, it's just mind-boggling that more people don't wake up and see what's going on right in front of their eyes.
Absolutely. So, not to get off topic, but I wanted to show you this real quick because I thought it was really interesting. Um, so just to give a little insight on my thoughts of the Vatican and the Pope and all that jazz. Have you seen this right here? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Boom. Okay. In 1 second, I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
But dang, I'll mention it. 1 Samuel 5:2. Uh-uh.
So Dagon was a fish god that the Philistines believed in, and he his headdress or whatever you want to call it, it's a fish with its mouth open.
Yeah.
In that picture on the far right is what the Pope looks like today
Right.
with the
Wow.
head thing.
Yeah.
Tell me
That's
that's not a coincidence, man.
it's not, man. There's no such thing as a coincidence.
It's very it's spiritual discernment's really important, man, because they put stuff right in front of us because they are like, these people are stupid. They're not going to believe this. Let's
It's
just
true.
like there's so many movies out there where they're just like they make something a joke, or and they're like, oh, that's fake, but it's like, no, it's that's actually the truth.
Right.
Put it right in front of your face, and you're too ignorant to realize it.
You know what's interesting too that I don't think a lot of people have realized. So obviously Israel, their flag has what's claimed to be the Star of David on it, right? But that's the Star of David isn't it's not in the Bible. What it actually is the Star of Remphan. Okay, so Stephen addresses this in Acts chapter 7. Goes down. He's addressing the High Council, and he says, was it me you were bringing sacrifices and offerings during those 40 years in the wilderness, Israel? No, you carried your pagan gods, the shrine of Molech, the star of your god Rephan, and the images you made to worship them. So I will send you into exile as far away as Babylon. Now, if you look up the Star of Rephan, which is also symbolic for Moloch,
Wow.
okay, it's a hexagon in the middle, right? Which has 6 sides. There's 2 triangles giving you 6 points, but then there's also 6 triangles. It's hard to focus. 6 triangles made up of those 2 triangles, right? So built in it is 666. And how many people just don't know that? And they're out here. I'm not saying Israel's bad, okay? There's a difference between the people Israel and Israel as a government, right? And what they've done to establish their government. Which, the Israelites, the Jewish people, they'll have to make that decision still if Jesus really is the Messiah. But like that goes to show right there another symbol, another idol for them that they're worshiping and have been worshiping, for thousands of years when they were explicitly told not to. But how many people in society just they see that image and they're like, praise God, God save Israel and worship the Star of David when that's not what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this world is so overrun by Satan, and people need to wake up and see it. You know, they need to realize, hey, we God won. Jesus won in the end. We have power over all satanic everything. We just need to use that. A lot of
Right. Yeah.
times people don't realize how much power we truly do have. In
Come on, brother.
the name of Jesus, demons have to flee. They have no choice. They have to go.
Preach.
So uh people just need to realize that, dude. And this government is so deceiving. I mean, Lucifer was known as what? The deceiver. That is what this government of all the, I mean, because they all want one world order. Everybody knows that. Um, that's what they ultimately want. But they're so deceiving with every single thing they tell you because they're rolled by Lucifer. I don't trust anyone in the government anymore. I think
Yeah.
there are good people that try to make a difference, but overall they get corrupted. Um,
It's true. They're being used by the devil, right? They're doing the devil's work, and you see that clearly in things that the government has done, things they've said, things they've not said, not telling the truth about things. And since we're on this topic of quote unquote conspiracies, if anybody's looked up or heard about Project Bluebeam and what that's all about, is a faked simulated alien invasion. So you go back and think a few years ago where they started saying, aliens are real. Get people thinking about this stuff. Videos start surfacing of UFOs and whatever the case. And there's been talk about it for the last since the 50s about aliens. But it's like boiling a frog. It's like
do you
boiling a frog.
go ahead?
Oh, you say you can't expose everybody to it all at once, right? Because it's less likely to believe. But the slower you boil that frog in the pot, right, before it knows it's too late to jump out, it ends up dying, and boiling alive. And that's what happens to the mass population. Is the same thing. The slower they warm us up to stuff, the more accepted it is among society. And so Project Bluebeam, faked alien invasion, immediately the alarm bells go off in my head of they're trying to cover up what happens when the church is raptured out of here, and they have to have some reason to explain where everybody went other than aliens came and abducted people. You've seen it in cartoons, you've seen it in movies. People go up in these little light beams into a UFO, never to be seen again. No, it's the church going to be raptured before the Great Tribulation because Christ isn't coming back for a beaten whore of a church, right? He's coming back for a spotless, blameless, pure church, right? So those that are living righteously are going to be taken up with him, right? Before it all breaks loose. But the government needs a reason, Satan needs a reason to convince people that God still isn't real, that he's not going to do what he said he was going to do. So Project Bluebeam, man, that's it. That is a huge topic that I've discussed with other people and have thought about. And whenever you see it, point it out in movies, and it's clear as day.
Absolutely, man. I mean, their goal ultimately is for when that rapture does happen, when we whoever's left has those trials on earth for the remaining amount of time, um, make them not want to ever even, they're not even going to consider Jesus or God in their mind at all. They're going to be like, no, that was aliens. So it's deceiving them so that they don't turn their life around to go to heaven, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. And I just kind of get the picture of, Satan, hell is beneath our feet, right? Satan's under our feet. So I just get this picture of him sliding kind of like down a hill, trying to grab as many people, as many souls as he can before he's cast into the lake of fire for all of eternity, and trying to have as much miserable company with him as he can. And that's what I see. It's a last ditch effort, right? Like this project, Bluebeam. It's another last ditch effort to convince people that there is no God.
I like that example you use. Kind of like if someone's playing King of the Hill and you're like, if I'm going down, everybody's coming with me, you know?
Exactly. He has nothing to lose. He already lost,
Yep.
right? So that's why it's becoming more and more prevalent. Why things are so perverted. Why you see things like the alphabet soup people, out there in the streets with their blue hair and their freaking little furry tails and all this stuff running around, all in the name of equality and justice, and saying that they want to, read books to your kids and all this crap. Oh man, that's the devil right there.
Straight up. I mean, that's by definition what they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's why God said, "Get out of here, dog."
Yep, it's true.
We can talk about those projects, man. There's so many different projects the government has funded and tried to hide and try to make it seem like it's not what it really is. Another one we can talk about this next week because it's a pretty heavy topic. It's called I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called Project Fishbowl.
I have not heard of that one.
So a little bit of summary of what that was about is the government thought it was a good idea to shoot nuclear weapons up into the sky to blow up something, but they called it fishbowl. Many believe that the government was trying to, because everybody knows we didn't go to the moon. That was the fakest junk I've ever seen. I don't care what you think. Like, that was the most obviously fake thing I've ever seen in my entire life. A lot of people believe that Operation Fishbowl was them shooting nuclear weapons up at the firmament to try to break it so that they could go to the outside of this world. So, very interesting topic. You should definitely look into it.
There's so many things to talk about. Another thing that I love to talk about is World War history and the implications of it, reasons behind it,
Oh
and
my, the Nazis' truth.
and then if you want to talk about Operation Paperclip post World War II and where all of those Nazi scientists and generals really went and what they were up to and
They
why the
they
space
they
program has
started
always.
they started NASA, man. That's what they did.
That's what exactly, bro. That's exactly what I was about to say.
With
And
NASA's symbol is very ironic as well.
yeah, it is with it looks like a snake's tongue, right? But then there's also, if you can't, I don't remember where the exact scripture is, but the number of even stars in the sky too, having a specific representation of fallen angels as well.
Right. Yep. I've seen that. We're gonna have another conversation about the whole firmament thing, though. That's gonna be an interesting one because there's a lot of conspiracies about that one. Uh, the fishbowl thing, along with the United Nations flag, is literally a flat Earth map, which is pretty cool. Uh, could be coincidence.
Right. Right.
There's an encyclopedia in 1964 where they actually gave specific dimensions to what they called it, what did they call it, a dome. They had given specific dimensions to a dome that they located in Antarctica, which flat earthers believe is the edge of the earth because it's the compass is not the way that people explained it. Um,
hmm
so that's an interesting topic for sure. It makes you
Have
makes you
you have you have you ever looked much about Antarctica?
yeah. I've done a lot of research on the flat Earth stuff, so a lot of that is Antarctica junk.
Have you heard of Admiral Richard Byrd?
I have. Yeah, he was the guy that helped write the encyclopedia as well for that.
We should listen to his audio recording of him flying over Antarctica and what happened.
We can do it right now. We don't have to do it right now.
Well, we'll do it later.
We definitely need to though, man. There's some crazy stuff when it comes to that. It makes you wonder. I'm not gonna say that the Earth is flat yet. I'm gonna wait till our next video, then I'll tell you my opinion on it. Um, but it does make you wonder. And I think these conspiracies, they're fun to talk about, and they're also kind of serious because it just conspiracies are only conspiracies till they're proven true, which a lot of conspiracies over time have been proven true. So there are some that are super far fetched, 100%, but there are some that are super serious.
Yeah. And like
Overall,
I said, well, like you just said, like I love talking about them. I think it's so fun and it opens up a different side of your brain, I think, that you don't really use or most people don't use very often because we're so used to being told what to think and how to think about it that it opens up that side that doesn't get used very often of okay, other possibilities and let's conceptualize this and let's see how this might be possible or let's see how it's not possible at all. So it's just fun to talk about. It's not something that our faith or our salvation hinges on, but it's cool to try to, learn more about God, to learn more about, what he actually has designed everything, what his word says and all of this, and then certain spots and just fun.
yeah, absolutely. Jesus is the truth, 100%. He also he tells us to search for the truth and you'll find it. So, conspiracies are fun to talk about. But the moral of most of these conspiracies combined is the acknowledging that, hey, Satan rules the world. We cannot be deceived by this junk that they put in front of our faces. We have to realize that, hey, God won, but we have to have that discernment to be able to tell what we should do with our life. For example, my kids are not going to be given all these thousands of vaccines because I don't trust a single dead gum one of them anymore. They're just not what people think they are. Um, as far as medicine goes, most of the time we try to do it the natural way, unless there's like absolutely no option. Like we'll have to do what we got to do, but most of the time we do it. We try to do things the natural way, and that's the way that I live my life with me and my family. Others might be different, but it is important to have that discernment. That being said, you shouldn't. Not telling you to live under a rock and be scared of everything. If you want to go eat some dead gum candy bars,
Or
so
have Mountain Dew or something.
or have yeah, um, yeah,
But I hope, I mean, if anything from uh like this conversation, I I hope that it just once Hunter collects himself, I hope that it sparks curiosity in people and it just enables them to open up a different side of their mind to things that, they might have never thought about. Because I believe that 2020 and the jab and all of that really kind of separated who can think for themselves versus who can't. And so whatever conversations we have, whatever the topic is, maybe there's something in it that triggers a light bulb in somebody, or it just strikes a chord that maybe that's the way that they break free, from their former ways of thinking and stop being, manipulated, for lack of better words.
yeah, absolutely. You got to have that discernment, and it's important because in Revelation, there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the end times that you need to be prepared for. God wins in the end, but you still have to have discernment of what to do in life. God's not going to just like, all right, dude, let's go. Like, you got to do stuff for yourself and trust that God's going to help you. It says, a man will plan a step, God will direct his journey. You have to plan your courses and you have to make your steps. God's going to help you through that.
Yeah, faith without works is dead. Yes, you have faith to do it, but you also have faith to have action behind that.
Absolutely. So, why did we talk about this topic with on our podcast today? Well, because it's pretty simple. Deception is the currency of Satan, of Babylon, of Satan. And truth is the foundation of God's economy, okay? If you can't trust the medical system or media, why would you trust any other system, especially a financial one? You know,
It's true.
it,
It's
it
true.
says it says in the end times in Revelation 13:17, no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark. I don't know when the mark is going to come, but it will one day. And you have to have discernment to be able to know what that is, you know?
Yeah, it's true. And then like for me, I think the big wake up call was getting out of man's money, right? Cash, fiat currency, or paper notes, right? And getting into physical assets, whether that's land and real estate, something that you own is tangible, it's physical. But more importantly, something to trade with, whether it's your goods or as a real currency, gold and silver, right? Because that has stood the test of time for thousands of years, and it will not go away. It has intrinsic value. It is recognized globally. It's backed by its rarity and its physical form and its uses for other things. Like silver, the most conductive metal there is. It's used in just about everything. Batteries, solar panels now today use it like crazy, and those aren't going to stop. And so the thing is, we want to have things that are real, and we don't want to be manipulated. Nor do we want people we love and care about, or anybody watching this, continue to be manipulated either. And we're breaking away from the beast system. A debt slavery system is the most important thing. And to be honest, our families' spiritual and financial freedom depends on what we do today and for generations to come. Whenever Jesus comes back, let it be. If it's tomorrow, let it be. But we have faith and we have actions and we have a plan and we're moving in a direction. So if anybody wants to join us in that, let us know. Hunter puts contacts down in the description. Reach out to us. We're helping people do something different, make a change that has real lasting value to create a legacy for generational wealth for their family and families to come.
Absolutely. If y'all want to join that, I mean, it talks about it specifically. The reason I mentioned Revelation 13:17, no one could buy or sell unless they had the mark. This is a very clear reference of a centralized and controlled currency, just like we were talking about earlier with the one world order. They all want to be on that one currency. My firm belief that with this whole Dogecoin thing that they got going on, I think that that's their way to try to move into one global currency. And overall, it's going to fail because it always does. That's why we have to be prepared with assets that are real, that God Himself manufactured. So like Austin said, I've got links in the description. Y'all, if you want to reach out to me, I got my phone number and everything is in the that link. And you have any questions about getting into a business of your own with gold and silver and being able to have financial freedom and be able to be home more with your family, or any kind of questions, reach out. Or if you just want to ask some questions about how you can renew your relationship with God, or how to go about becoming a Christian or anything like that, you can reach out to us as well. Austin, you have anything else you want to add?
No, man, you nailed it. You nailed it. I'll add one thing though. You had said that, deception is the currency of Babylon and Satan, right? Truth is the foundation of God's economy. And then I'll even say that the actual currency of God's financial system of heaven is souls, right? Is His people that are going to live with Him forever. So that's why we're doing this, not just to talk about fun topics or to provide wisdom and insight on how to protect yourself financially, but to see your life and your family's life be changed for the better through the power of the blood of Jesus Christ.
Amen, amen, amen. Also, I have a new channel that I'm going to be opening up. I've already started creating it. I haven't started doing any videos with it yet, but I will be doing some soon. Austin will join me in the future with these as well. It's called Wilderness Disciples, and I'll put a link for that as well. It'll be somewhere on the screen. Wilderness Disciples, where we are going to start. I'm going to start teaching you some things that I learned while I was in the Army, and then I've picked up over time as far as bushcraft, living off the land, how to start fires out of nothing, how to start fires in the cold and the wet, how to build a place to live in the woods for a few days and be all right. How to be able to protect yourself, how to forage, how to kill and skin animals and cook them. Just fun stuff like that that I was taught, and Austin was taught, and while he was in his training as well, that we want to share with y'all. And hopefully you'll learn something for it. And also we'll start doing once I do that channel, we're going to make sure we have a Bible study or devotional. It's going to be called like a campfire devotional time throughout sometime in the video. So I think it's really important for not us to only learn how to survive in the wilderness if you ever need to, because it's a fun necessity to know, because you never know. What if there's a plane crash? I know it's a what if, but what if there's a plane crash and you have to live by yourself? You want to be able to be prepared for that. So we're going to help you with that, but we're also going to help you be able to see God in the wilderness, because that's where Jesus went, where he felt closest to God was in the wilderness. That's where he was tempted, but that's where he went to kind of renew his faith, as if he needed to renew it anyways. But so this is going to be a channel for that, and Austin and I will be doing a bunch of videos with that here in the time coming. I'll be doing them by myself until we can be closer to be able to do that kind of stuff together.
Amen.
All right. Well, as always, like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone who might want to hear it, and God bless. Love y'all.